Okay, good morning, and thank you all for coming this morning. I'm State Representative David Parker of the 115th District in Monroe County. Representative Mary Jo Daley and I have introduced House Bill 1835 to reform the redistricting process in Pennsylvania. We'd like to thank Representative Darrell Metcalf, Chairman of the State Government Committee, for holding an informational meeting today at 11 o'clock on this important legislation. So we just wanted to highlight that legislation and the support we have for it. Standing with me here today are Representative Mary Jo Daley. We also have Stephen DeFrank, the Chief of Staff for Senator Lisa Boscola's office. And Senator Boscola has a companion piece of legislation in the Senate, and we've been working very closely together to get this initiative through. Also with us is Commissioner Vince DiFilippo from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. He is the chairman of the board. And Carol Cooneyholm from Fair Districts, PA, and also from the Pennsylvania League of Women Voters. You guys can just give a little wave, and that way people know who you are. Barry Kaufman of Common Cause, and also co-chair of Fair Districts, PA. And Nathan Benefield from the Commonwealth Foundation is also here with us. Reverend Sandra Strauss from the PA Council of Churches. And then we also have that's Jan Little from the Pennsylvania League of Women Voters and the president of Lehigh County chapter, Patrick Christmas from the Committee of Seven. I knew there were 7 in there. From the Committee of 7 out of Philadelphia, and Suzanne Almeida from, she is the executive director of the PA League of Women Voters. So we are Democrats and Republicans, conservative and liberal, so we do not agree on everything, but we all believe in good government. And we want to work together to improve our representative democracy. House Bill 1835 seeks to do just that. And first, I'd like to introduce my colleague, Representative Mary Jo Daley, for some remarks. Representative Daley.
Thank you, David. Conflict of interest, one person, one vote. Legislators choosing voters rather than voters choosing legislators. All of these terms bring to mind the age-old custom of gerrymandering as we look forward to the 2020 redistricting. My own view of redistricting is rooted in growing up in a politically involved family. Voting was an elementary right and responsibility of citizenship and adulthood. It was nourished through decades of serving as a committee person, encouraging neighbors and community members to get out and vote. I like elections and Election Day. So I'm troubled when low voter turnout numbers are reported, and I'm concerned that political polarization creates a barrier to good government. I'm deeply concerned that our current redistricting process contributes to low voter turnout and political polarization. Pennsylvania needs a redistricting process that is transparent and ensures that communities are fully and fairly represented in the United States Congress and the Pennsylvania General Assembly. I strongly support the concept of an independent redistricting commission. We are all here today for a House State Government informational meeting on a redistricting bill which would create an independent commission to manage the next and future redistricting. House Bill 1835 would create a commission with 11 members, 4 individuals from each of the 2 major parties, and 3 individuals registered as independents or from one of Pennsylvania's numerous minor parties. This bill would dramatically change the way that Pennsylvania redistricts both congressional and legislative elective districts. House Bill 1835 faces the heavy burden of attempting to change the Pennsylvania Constitution, requiring that the legislation pass in 2 successive sessions of the General Assembly and be submitted to the people as a referendum. The first step in the legislative process for House Bill 1835, and perhaps its biggest hurdle, is getting a positive vote in the House State Government Committee. As a member of this committee, I appreciate the fact that Chairman Metcalf has provided us with the opportunity to provide information and answer questions of committee members. I'm hopeful that Chairman Metcalf will bring this bill up for a committee vote, and it will then move to the full House. We still have time to pass this bill in the current legislative session, but the clock is ticking. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Daley. This issue is very important to me because I'm from Monroe County, and although we got a much better map in the latest redistricting, for 12 years we had this map right here. So you can see we have 6 senators in Monroe County. We did have 3 Democrats and 3 Republicans, so you could say it was balanced. But the fact is, none of these senators lived in Monroe County. None of them needed a Monroe County vote to win their seat. So essentially, we didn't really have a senator. They were all great senators, great people, they still are. But unfortunately, we were not properly represented. And so House Bill 1835, in addition to creating the independent commission, the Citizen Commission, has some language in there to say no county shall ever be split up like this, and it would only be split up at the most for what the population calls for, +1. So Monroe County, let's say it's about 160,000 people. 1 senator would be enough to cover that, but it allows for 2 because we know we need flexibility as we're creating districts across the state. It also does the same for representatives and would say no more representatives than are required by the population +2. So again, it gives some flexibility, but also tries to ensure that the people have representation. I'd like to introduce briefly for a few remarks is the Chief of Staff, Stephen DeFrank from Senator Boscola's office.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. I'll be very brief. A lot has been said about this issue. The bottom line is the current system puts politics before people. Both bills, this legislation puts people first. It lets people draw their own districts. We think that's an important point in any redistricting process. The group of legislators here formed a bipartisan work group on this issue. Some of the core principles are listed right there, that any legislation that passes, any reform measure that passes, should have these core principles at minimum in it. So again, thank you, Representative Parker, for putting this together. Look forward to the committee hearing today and starting the process forward. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Stephen. Now the chairman of the Cumberland County Commissioners, Vince DeFilippo, they recently put forth a resolution for redistricting, and he's going to speak now. Vince?
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for being here. This is a very important issue that affects all Pennsylvanians. I'm Vince DeFilippo, the chairman of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, and I am here representing not only myself, but all of the commissioners on our board. I am a lifelong Republican. My Republican colleague on the board, Gary Eichelberger, and my Democratic colleague, Jim Hertzler, unanimously support an amendment to the Pennsylvania Constitution regarding the redistricting process that we have today. If I may read just a few things. And as Representative Parker stated, the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners passed a resolution a few months ago supporting legislation such as House Bill 1835. The citizens of Cumberland County and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania deserve a fair, fully transparent, impartial, and depoliticized process for the drawing of state legislative and congressional districts of near equal population. And legislative redistricting and congressional reapportionment has often resulted in the gerrymandering of districts to favor one political party or the other. Such gerrymandering of legislative and congressional districts has worked at times to the detriment of our representative democracy by impeding action on critical issues of importance to the people. The creation of a truly independent Citizens Redistricting Commission devoid of political motivation or partisanship will help to ensure a fair and accurate legislative redistricting and congressional reapportionment process that respects political subdivisions and communities of interest, will prohibit districts from being drawn to favor or discriminate against a political party or candidate, will promote transparency, the use of impartial and sound methodology when setting district boundaries, and allow, and this is very important, for public input, and will fully comply with the constitutional requirement that no county, city, incorporated town, borough, township, or ward be divided unless absolutely necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Now Carol Cooneyholm from the co-chair of Fair Districts PA will speak. Carol.
Thank you. As co-chair of Fair Districts PA and as election reform specialist for the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania, I would like to thank the House State Government Committee and Committee Chair Darrell Metcalf for taking time to consider the importance of redistricting reform. I also thank Representatives Parker and Daley and others for their work in addressing this essential issue through House Bill 1835. Gerrymandering of electoral districts has been around almost as long as our American democracy, but new mapping technologies and sophisticated data mining make it possible for precision gerrymandering in a way that undercuts accountable government and deprives voters of choice. The Election Integrity Project, an international independent research team, has found that the greatest threat to U.S. electoral integrity involves gerrymandering of district boundaries to favor incumbents. A growing body of research links this kind of partisan redistricting to increased polarization, legislative gridlock, and voter distrust in the political process. The same research suggests that independent citizens' commissions linked to strong redistricting standards, such as provided in HB 1835, reduce the incidence of uncontested elections, increase the likelihood of quality challengers entering electoral races, and reduce partisanship in legislative voting behavior. In elections leading up to the 2010 redistricting, outside entities invested millions in legislative contests in carefully identified swing districts with extensive focus group testing and slick, expensive attack ads. Both major parties have already announced goals to make Pennsylvania center of the target for capturing the legislature to control the next redistricting, and are well on their way to raising many more millions from unidentified sources. This is a battle with many losers and no real winners. As technologies improve, the gerrymandering will become more explicit, and the attacks on legislative candidates and democracy itself will become ever more damaging. Election analysts around the country agree the best solution is an independent, impartial citizens commission with strong guidelines for transparency, defined opportunities for public input, and strict measures of compactness, contiguity, and fairness. Some observers suggest that litigation is an adequate antidote to gerrymandered districts. We have watched with the extreme disruption and frustration that result when maps are redrawn repeatedly during ongoing election cycles, and have watched many millions of taxpayer dollars spent in years of litigation. The people of Pennsylvania deserve more than to be seen as pawns in a national game of chess. Our legislators should not be made targets of undisclosed, unlimited money pouring in from national, even international sources. We applaud the commendable work of the bipartisan, bicameral group of legislators committed to restoring government of, by, and for the people of Pennsylvania, and we encourage all of our legislators to join in this important effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Now Barry Kaufman of Common Cause and also Fair Districts PA has a few remarks. Barry?
Good morning, everybody. On behalf of Common Cause Pennsylvania and the partner organizations of Fair Districts PA, I thank Representative Parker and Representative Daley and the bipartisan team of representatives and senators who are working to ensure that the 2021 redistricting process is the fairest that Pennsylvania has ever seen. Representative Parker's House Bill 1835 would produce a state-of-the-art redistricting process that is based on known and tested systems that are working well in other states. It embodies the requirements of a quality redistricting process that Common Cause PA's 4 years of research and analysis found to be essential for protecting the people of Pennsylvania. Most importantly, it should dramatically improve the competitiveness of Pennsylvania's elections and ultimately the integrity of our government. Pennsylvania's current system has the notoriety of creating some of the most aggressively gerrymandered districts in America. This system leads to vast numbers, frequently more than half, in fact, of our legislative and congressional districts being uncontested. It also chops up our communities for partisan political gain and diminishes our community's political clout. It largely eliminates legislators' accountability to voters, and thus we end up with gridlock, a lack of civility, the prioritizing of special interest goals, the inability of compromise for the greater good, and ultimately constantly increasing citizen cynicism. We can no longer tolerate a system of elections in which most election outcomes are predetermined before the first vote is cast. Let's dump the system which allows lawmakers to pick their voters instead of voters picking their lawmakers. Let's make sure that no political party or politician can abuse redistricting for their own partisan political advantage. Let's fix that system now so that the fix won't be in future election days. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Now from the Commonwealth Foundation, we have Nathan Benefield for some remarks. Nathan?
Thank you. Thank you for coming out. We stand here today just a few hours after yet another Pennsylvania elected official was convicted of a crime. I think no one can deny that we need have a crisis in our trust in government, and we need to provide greater openness, transparency, and accountability in state government. Now, I applaud the members who have, there are many lawmakers who have come forward pushing greater reforms. I'm thankful for Representative Parker and Representative Daley for talking redistricting reform. This is reforming the process by which legislative districts are drawn is one tool that would significantly improve the trust voters have in their elected officials. I'm grateful that we have lawmakers on both sides of the aisle advocating for this. And I thank the members who came out today, showing up on a day in August to support this, and I'm glad they're having a hearing in the midst of summer vacation to actually discuss this issue. Moving to a citizens commission with constitutional restrictions on how districts can be drawn and how counties can be broken up would once again empower voters to choose their politicians rather than politicians choosing their voters. Redistricting is among the most important reform measures for making the legislature more representative of their constituents. This need not be a partisan issue. I think, as you can see by the co-sponsors and the people attending here today supporting this, this is not a partisan issue. This isn't about helping one party over the other. Rather, this is about creating a process by which citizens, not politicians, determine the process by which districts are drawn and protect communities to have a better representation in the legislature. Further, moving to a citizen commission would better allow lawmakers to focus on the policy issues that affect Pennsylvanians. As we saw in the last redistricting process, in which there was not one process, but then a second map had to be drawn, it consumed considerable time and energy and political capital in this building and detracted from the policy areas which Pennsylvania families care most about. Reforming the redistricting process to create a nonpartisan citizen commission would better provide transparency, better representation of communities, and allow lawmakers to focus on issues while getting politics out of the redistricting process. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nathan. And finally, we have Reverend Sandra Strauss from the PA Council of Churches for some remarks. Reverend?
I represent 20 different Christian denominations in Pennsylvania, and so thousands of people here in the Commonwealth. And I want to thank Representative Parker and Daley and Senator Boscola for their support. Scripture is teeming with stories of people of faith accepting the challenge of God's call to speak truth to power and step into the political world. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew prophets confronted the power structures of their day to demand change in how people were ruled. In the early church, Paul lectured on the duties of citizenship. Church reformers and leaders took these scriptural imperatives to heart. Christians are called by Scripture to speak out for those who cannot speak. The Pennsylvania Council of Churches believes that our current system for redistricting leaves far too many persons in our Commonwealth without a voice. When districts are drawn to protect incumbents or favor the perpetuation of a majority being held by a single party, this serves to disenfranchise thousands of Pennsylvanians who do not truly have a choice when they go to the polls. The Council is honored to join with our partners in Fair Districts PA to call for reform in our redistricting system. As a group, we call on Pennsylvanians to sign a petition urging support of, and this is the petition here, over 3,000 signatures, urging support of legislation that would create an impartial, independent Citizens Redistricting Commission with rules ensuring fairness and transparency. We do expect many more Pennsylvanians to join us when we begin to engage in an even more public effort to educate the public and to gain support. And we hope that all members of our General Assembly will join these colleagues here and others who are already supporting this common sense legislation that would place more power back into the hands of the citizens of this great Commonwealth. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Strauss. Okay, well, that ends the remarks. I will just close with House Bill 1835. Its fair and open, transparent process will serve to ensure the foundational principle of our democratic system, that is, one person, one vote. So thank you for coming, and I think we have time for questions if anybody would like to ask questions. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
How will these members be chosen? Are you going to be selecting commission members?
It's a good question. Yeah, there's a process where you would apply, and we do have restrictions as far as elected officials cannot serve, and I'll just read through some bullets on that. But the commission will consist of 11 members, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans, and 3 who are not registered with either of those parties. Individuals who within the last 5 years served as elected officials, including spouses, government employees, political party officers, or lobbyists in the Commonwealth could not serve within those limits imposed on party registration. The Secretary of the Commonwealth would select commission members on a random basis. The commission, however, would have to reasonably reflect the racial, geographic, and gender diversity of the Commonwealth. And after service on the commission, members would, for a time, be subject to limits on holding office or working as a lobbyist or in government. So, does that answer your question?
I believe so.
Okay.
How will the public input piece of this, what will be involved there, and how would that work? Because you're saying that the public's going to have input into how this is going to go on.
Correct, yes. All right, I'll let Stephen speak to that quickly. We worked on this together as a working group.
Well, the commission itself is a public commission, so I mean, these are public citizens. They're not current office holders drawing the maps in the first place. So that's the first step of public input, and both bills do require a set of public hearings from a preliminary plan before a final plan can be approved. And then one other point that both bills have as well, which ensures integrity in the process, and that is they both have a qualified majority concept, meaning that each one of those subgroups has to support the plan. So you don't have Democrats and Republicans getting together penalizing third parties. You know, there has to be buy-in from all three of the subgroups defined in the bill.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you all for coming, and the informational meeting is open to the public. It's in G50 at 11 o'clock. So, thank you.